Hello, my name is Garrett Goldsmith. I'm a technical illustrator and graphic designer with a BFA in visual communications. The purpose of this video is to lay out my 4-year growth plan for myself. This will be covering 2025 through 2029. I will be going over my main learning objective, how I plan on accomplishing it, and potential risk I see involved with it. This is going to be a high elevation look at the objective, and then in a future video I plan on having a more ground level approach with those 48 months broken down kind of like in a curriculum you would find at a university. My main objective in the next 4 years is to become an expert visual communicator, and this is problematic for two main reasons, and they both have to do with definitions. So I'm going to cover visual communicator first. This is a term that I thought about long and hard about because I'm mapping out 4 years. This is it's a pretty big chunk of time, and I wanted to get this right. A visual communicator it's a umbrella term that covers a lot of different creative mediums, photography, animation, 3D modeling, just to name a few. These are all terms that fall underneath that umbrella term of visual communicator. So when I say I want to become an expert visual communicator, I want to grow in multiple different visual mediums simultaneously. That's why I chose that terminology. The second problem is to be an expert, right? To be an expert is equally problematic. It's such a subjective term, but as you'll see as I lay down my growth plan, I've divided the objective into 4 different categories. Those categories are technical skills, software skills, courses, and certificates. Now, by doing this, I believe that by the end of the 4 years, I will be an expert visual communicator.
Technical skills is the first of 4 major categories in accomplishing my learning objective for this growth period. In this category, I've identified 7 areas that I would like to increase my learning in. Those areas are illustration, which will include digital and traditional, video, layout, 3D modeling, motion design, print and production, and personal brand.
Now that I've identified these 7 subcategories, let's see what software I need to be fluent in to accomplish this main learning objective. The next section is software. This is going to cover the software that I need to be fluent in to accomplish the 7 areas of growth listed in the previous section. Some of these softwares you're going to hear multiple times. An example of this would be Photoshop. Photoshop can be used as a photo manipulator, editor, but it can also be used as a drawing tool. It can also be used as an animation tool. The first section is basics. This is Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe InDesign. I believe these are the most important tools a graphic designer could have under their belt, and mastery of them is critical. The second section is photography. This is going to include Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Lightroom, and Adobe Bridge. The third section is video. The supporting programs for this objective are Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Adobe Audition. In the fourth category, we have illustration. Under this category, we have Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Fresco, and Adobe Photoshop, as well as Procreate and Sprite. Additionally, we have traditional design tools, such as graphite, charcoal, watercolor, and fountain pen. This category has the most potential to grow as I find new mediums I want to add to this for fun. The next section is animation. This doesn't mean necessarily animated shorts, but more so animated graphics. In this category, we have Adobe Fresco, Adobe Photoshop, Procreate Dreams, and Autodesk Maya. The sixth and final section is 3D modeling. In this category, we have Autodesk Maya, Adobe Substance Painter, Unreal Engine 5, and ZBrush. By mastering these tools, I'll be able to master the 7 areas of growth listed earlier, and in turn, I will be able to accomplish the main learning objective of becoming an expert visual communicator. The next category I want to cover is called courses. Some of these learning resources will be more beneficial in the sense that they will increase my technical capabilities as a visual communicator, while others will be more for increasing my admiration for this creative field. Both are equally important and need to be balanced with great care. The first learning resource that I want to talk about is the Texas Academy of Figurative Art. That's an atelier school here in Fort Worth, Texas. Terms are offered every spring, summer, and fall. At this institution, I'll be able to increase in my traditional art mediums such as graphite, charcoal, and oil painting. The second learning resource I want to talk about is the Focal Point Concept Art School. This is an online program that is based out of Poland. They specialize in the video game and movie industry. At this institution, I will be able to increase in digital art mediums, primarily in Adobe Photoshop. They offer spring, summer, and fall terms, as well as have classes that are intermediate and advanced. The third resource I want to talk about is Udemy and YouTube. These online learning tools will allow me to learn in a very specific direction at my own pace. I will be able to learn any software skill mentioned earlier in either one of these wonderful learning platforms. The fourth learning resource I want to talk about are books. I have a large collection of books I'm actively working through covering graphic design, illustration, design theory, as well as artist biographies. These books will greatly contribute to my learning objective. The next and final category I want to talk about is certificates. This is the category that provides quantifiable data indicating forward momentum in my overall objective. Adobe offers proctored online tests that will ensure I am retaining comprehension. Upon completion of a given test, I will be certified as professional with that software. I'm already familiar with this process as I have done it with Adobe After Effects. I would like to be certified as professional by Adobe in the following programs: Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign, and Adobe Premiere Pro. Additionally, I can earn Adobe Certified Professional Specialty credentials by combining individual Adobe tests. An example of this would be I could combine Adobe Photoshop with either Adobe Illustrator or Adobe InDesign to be certified professional in visual design. Likewise, by combining Adobe Premiere Pro with either Adobe Photoshop or Adobe After Effects, I can be certified professional in video design. These tests would confirm forward momentum in becoming an expert visual communicator. I'm really excited about this 4-year growth plan. I think it has a lot of potential to really improve my skill set as a visual communicator. That being said, I foresee 3 potential risks involved with this learning objective. The first one is simple burnout. Visual designers, creators, graphic designers, they've all been there. Burnout's very real and it's very possible. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will eventually. In this next 48 months, I could easily see running into that. And in an effort to stay motivated and to continue learning, I want to space out my learning in such a way that I try to mitigate burnout, hopefully altogether. Originally, this was going to be a 3-year growth plan, and I thought to myself that might be a little too much. So I spaced it out 4 years so I can have fun creating things that kind of don't matter, personal projects, doodles, stuff that serve really no value or any purpose other than the enjoyment of the act of creating. And I think that's really important for creators, is to find time for things that aren't necessarily beneficial. And then the second problem that I see, it's a very abstract objective, and it's something we talked about earlier, but I feel like I've laid it down convincingly enough that at the end of these 48 months, I'll be able to obtain that learning objective. And then the third potential risk I see is just getting distracted. This is a 48-month period. It's going to cover a lot of different learning goals, sub-goals. But I feel like if I keep my eye on the prize, if I lay things out, one of the things I need to do very soon is to lay out the curriculum. I need to lay out those 4 years, break it up into 48 months, have a curriculum set up, and figure out which ones I'm going to tackle first, why, and see where there's overlap. I think that'll really help reducing distraction, is having a concrete plan. But yeah, those are the 3 areas that I see where there's a potential risk. I'm really excited about the next 4 years and how I plan on seeing my skill sets as a visual communicator grow. At the end of the day, it's not entirely just about becoming more competitive as a designer, but becoming better at what I love. Being a visual creator, communicator is so much fun. I enjoy it so much. Being an artist, an illustrator, graphic designer, animator, that it's so much fun to do all this stuff, you know, and I don't want to lose that joy and that love I have for this, for my passion. You know, I don't want it to become so corporate that I lose sight of why I do what I do and why I find so much enjoyment in it. I think that's really important. I can't wait to embark on this journey. Wish me luck. I'm very excited on what the next 4 years will look like for me.